protein, and I always get this question anyways. So I know sometimes women struggle with getting in protein. So I am going to show you or help you see like what is it that is the struggle between you getting protein in and not getting it in. So the first thing to do would be to determine how much protein do you need. So that's easily done. I recommend 1 gram per pound of body weight. However, if you are over 170 pounds, I wouldn't recommend anybody getting in over 170. So for this for a female, right? So men are going to be different. Men weigh more. Men tend to get more protein in. Whereas women, I think we struggle with protein. We're getting in anywhere from like 60 to 70 grams of protein, and that is just not enough. Now, here's the thing, when you go into MyFitnessPal, MyFitnessPal is only going to recommend 20% of your calories coming from protein. And what happens is a lot of times women put in that they want to lose 2 pounds per week. And so that's putting you in 1,000 calorie deficit. That's going to drop your calories really low. And so 20% of that is not going to be enough protein. So that's just one thing that I see, right, is you're setting your calories too low. But MyFitnessPal will set it at 20% protein, and that's not going to be enough. So I definitely recommend 1 gram per pound of body weight. And like I said, unless you're 170. So, but even that can be a challenge for some women. So I think the average is like right around 60 or 70 grams of protein. So I just did a 6-week program. I'm just like, we're on week 2 of a 6-week program, and I have everybody's, so what I have them do is I have them log for 3 days in MyFitnessPal so that I can see how many calories they're eating and how much protein that they're eating. So this is how I know, right? One's getting 75, one is getting 90, one is getting 80. So actually these are pretty good numbers here. But then we get to like 60. We have 45, as an average for 3 days. I have a feeling like maybe we were missing some days there. And then there's a few that are like 110, 100, and then there's a few that are actually hitting those protein goals. So this is how I know that is really common for women to not get that protein in. And so that's the 6-week thing that's already underway. So I only do that 4 times a year. But I do have a free 5-day protein challenge, and you can do that anytime, but we're going to kick that off on Monday. So, but you can use the link in my bio to go to that free 5-day challenge. Check that out. But Jumpstart is already underway. I'm not going to have another one until January, which I'm not sure when I'm going to have that. I haven't decided. I know everybody wants to get going on January. This year is on January 2nd, and so I'm not going to be promoting that like all through Christmas and the holidays. So it's probably going to be later in January. But anyways, so this is how I know that women just aren't eating enough protein, right? Because I see the data, all the clients that are working with me, they're all low protein, right? And so this is why women in menopause are struggling to lose weight. What happens is like after 40, it's even more important to be getting in that protein. It's for your muscles, it's for your body, and we tend to gravitate more towards carbs. So having a higher carbohydrate diet, and we're not able to burn off usually the carbs that we're eating. And so there's an imbalance. The protein, the benefit of having protein is it's going to keep you feeling full and satiated. So this is, like I said, we're in week 2 of this 6-week challenge, and everybody's like, oh my God, I am so full, right? They're full, they're not snacking at night anymore. And so that's kind of the point, but they're also struggling with getting protein in. So, you have to be kind of more open to where can you get protein in besides just meat, right? It can't just be meat, because that does get tiring, right? You do fatigue on that, and you're not going to have chicken for 3 meals. So you have to be creative with protein, and especially if you are a vegetarian. If you're eliminating eggs or dairy, it's going to be really hard to hit your protein goals for sure. So you can do it. It's just that the sources that you're going to get that are protein sources are going to be more loaded with carbs. So I think that is going to be it's hard to get in your protein goals as a vegetarian if you're not going to have eggs or dairy. But fish, right? And maybe you would have fish, and so that is definitely going to help out. So again, the benefits of protein is it's going to go towards building your muscle. So if you aren't weight training, right, then you're losing your muscle, especially after 40. So you really need to focus on weight training. That's just going to improve your body composition. It's going to improve the way that your body looks. So it's all part of fat loss, and if you guys want me to talk about that, I definitely can. You can hit some likes if you want some more information on that. But, I focus on fat loss for my clients because I want to take off the lumpy, bumpy stuff off of their body and replace it with that lean tissue. So imagine, sometimes people think that muscle weighs more than fat, and that's not true. They both weigh the same, they just look different. So imagine 3 pounds of like ground hamburger, right? It's going to be lumpy, it's going to be big, and it's going to be kind of soft. And then just imagine like 3 pounds of skinless, boneless chicken breast, right? That's just looks a lot different. It takes a lot less room and it's more dense. So that's what I want for my clients, right? I want to improve their muscle composition. That's going to improve their body composition, and protein plays a huge role in that. So carbohydrates are not going to build your muscle. Doing cardio is not going to give you muscles. And it's really hard for women to build muscle as it is. So I know some women are afraid of getting bulky, but girl, if you ever get bulky, right, please let me know. I think you can definitely stop. It just doesn't happen. It's just really hard. We just don't have the testosterone to put on muscle like a guy does. And so Sonia is saying that she needs to build muscle, and protein, again, is going to play a big role in that. So if you can get your protein up to minimum, right, would be 0.8, but I definitely recommend 1 gram per pound of body weight up to 170 pounds. So I don't want you to go over 170 grams of protein for women. All right. So this is strictly for women. That's who I'm talking to right now. So specifically women in their 40s and the 50s. Or 60s, for sure. So it's definitely going to be a benefit to building that muscle. So the protein, the amino acids in the protein, you do want to make sure that you have a variety of sources for that protein, right? It can't always just be chicken and protein powder, and eggs. You definitely want to make sure that you're switching that up. Thank you very much for the likes. I appreciate that. You want to be switching up those sources, and because everything has a different amino acid profile. Now, there's one thing that I like. I'm not sponsored by them. Trust me, I wish I was because I promote them all the time. It really doesn't matter what kind of protein powder. If whatever you like, I prefer this one because it tastes good, right? It tastes good. It's only 120 calories for this. So this is mostly protein. What I'm looking for in a protein powder is that it has to taste good. And hey girl, I will answer your question in just a sec. So the requirements for my protein powders that it has to taste good, right, is number one, but it also has to be mostly protein. So this is 26 grams of protein, and it has 2 grams of carbs and half a gram of fat. So most of the calories in this product are coming from protein, like almost all of the calories. And this is really good. So I mix this into a non-fat Greek yogurt or a like a 2% yogurt. I don't do full fat Greek yogurt that has like 20 grams of fat, and I'd rather save my fat calories for something like bacon or something like that. So but when I put those two things together, that's 42 grams of protein right there. So that's just like an easy way, especially, when you're on the fly as far as cooking. You don't have to cook it, and it's just ready to roll. So whatever protein powder that you like, right? It can be whey-based. That one's a whey. There's definitely hemp protein. You're going to have to add more of that to get to like over 20 grams of protein. There's egg white protein, there's different ways to get in, but whatever you like. So, all right. So will gaining muscle help with energy levels? So No, not exactly. All right. So having muscle on your body isn't going to give you energy. Your energy comes from calories, right? But here's the thing, right? To build that muscle, you're going to actually need calories. And so we can put those calories to work and build that muscle. So, but energy, as far as energy goes, the and in fact, it's actually going to take calories to build that muscle, right? So if anything, I would say like it might take, like if we look at it that way, it takes energy to build that muscle. So it's not going to help with your energy levels. It will help with your body composition, but having muscle on your body is kind of a necessity, to having strength, to having, so that you're not frail, right? It's going to help. Any kind of weight bearing activity is going to help with your muscles, with your bones, like osteoporosis, right? We want to make sure that we're definitely getting that. Hormones can be in flux, and that's going to affect, their osteoporosis issues. So we want to make sure that we're eating a balanced diet. And so, definitely I recommend a balanced diet approach. I don't recommend high carb, or I should say, high fat or low carb or high protein. I don't recommend any high anything. So I definitely recommend a balanced approach of macros with a balanced protein, carbs, and fats. So definitely you want to be anywhere from like 25 to 30% fat. So what you can do is set your protein goal to 1 gram per pound of body weight, and then shoot for 25 to 30% of your calories to come from fat. And so now we're looking at probably 30 to 35% of your calories are coming from protein, 25 to 30, maybe 30 grams are coming from your fats. You're very welcome. It's great to see you. Whatever questions that you have, just shoot them at me. And so that leaves like 30, maybe 35% of your calories from carbs. But like I was talking about earlier, when you go to MyFitnessPal, right, and you put in the calories, it's going to only recommend 20% protein, 50% carbs, which is too much, right? And we could easily store carbohydrates as fat, and then they actually do a pretty good job with the fats. You need to have fat, right? So all excess calories will get stored as fat. However, it's really hard to store excess protein as fat. What happens if protein gets shuttled to the muscles through muscle glycogenesis? I don't think that's the right word. That is not the correct word. That's not the process. It'll come to me in 1 second. But what happens is it's going to take like those amino acids to build that muscle, and then it gets excreted through the urine. So it's really hard to you're very welcome, to get fat from eating too much protein, right? Unless, you're eating way too many calories. However, excess carbs do get stored as fat. If they don't get burned off, then those are going to get stored as fat. Same with excess fat. Whatever you can't use, because you need to have it, whatever doesn't get used gets stored as fat. So you're very welcome. What's the best way to gain weight and muscle? So that's going to be calories and protein. Obviously, making sure that you're doing a targeted weight training session to build that muscle, and just following a smart and sensible weight training program. It does not have to be 2 a days. It doesn't have to be a ton of reps. For women, I recommend anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes of weight training a day, and do that 3 to 5 days a week. It really depends on your level of, where you are. So if you're a beginner, start with 3 days a week. If you're more intermediate or advanced, maybe you can work up to 5 days a week. So I toggle between 5 days a week and 4 days a week. And right now I'm just busy. And so I get my 4 days in a week, and I'm already behind on 4 days this week. So it was just a hell of week. So, but I will get those four workouts in by Saturday. So, so hopefully that helps. But be creative with protein ideas. I think you have to think outside of the box. And the thing with protein is it does have to be planned. You do have to have it cooked. If you're somebody that doesn't like cooking, then maybe you're buying things that are already cooked, like maybe some turkey meatballs or chicken strips, like you can buy pre-cooked chicken strips or rotisserie chicken or something like that. Deli meat's an easy way to get in protein. Cheese, right? I love cheese. I love cheese, cottage cheese. Any, like the non-fat Greek yogurt is going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. But if you have, so for me, I'm in maintenance calories, I don't have to have the non-fat Greek. So I'm going to have like the 2% or the 4%. So there's definitely tons of options out there. You just have to be a little bit more creative about how you're going to put that together. So I like... it's weird. It's like an English muffin, right? We're all afraid to have carbs, but it's funny because an English muffin has 5 grams of carbs. So I'll make an egg sandwich with 2 eggs with some cheese and an English muffin. That's like 22 grams of protein right there, right? If I had just made a protein shake then, that would get me to 50 grams of protein, over 50 grams of protein for that meal. Just under 50 grams of protein. So me and math don't get along. But so just being creative and just really just planning ahead, honestly, is going to help you get to your goals. It doesn't happen overnight. I think that's why people get frustrated and, they just say, hey, this is a lot of work. It's, it does take effort, just like anything else, and then it will get easy, just like anything else. So really the best way to go about it, in my opinion, right, would be to track it in something like MyFitnessPal so that you can see exactly how much protein are you getting a day. Now, you can just write it down, right? But you're still going to have to get the values from somewhere. So it's, you're still going to have to get the values from somewhere. So I use MyFitnessPal to make sure that I am hitting my goals. So for me now, I am veering towards a bit of a higher protein because I have muscle building growth goals. And so I'm going to be a little bit over. So I'm 130 pounds. I'm shooting for 165 grams of protein per day. And so we're really pushing on the protein for me, for my body weight, and just driving down carbs a little bit. But I'm just in a slight, like I'm in maintenance, right? I'm not in a deficit. And so just prioritizing protein there. So for me, I'm going to want to make sure that I'm getting like 60 grams of protein per meal. Now, I don't do that like in a meal. I don't just sit down and eat 60 grams of protein. But for my breakfast, I will get anywhere from 60 to 75 grams of protein, but I'll have 2 breakfasts, right? So I'm going to have my pre-workout meal, which is usually like cottage cheese, bagel, and some cream cheese. I'll have that before I work out, maybe a piece of fruit. And then when I get home, then I'm going to have the yogurt and the protein powder. I really don't do smoothies because I don't want to clean my blender. That's the straight up truth. I just don't want to do the work. So I just put it into a container and just mix in the protein powder, add a little water, and then I'm on my way. So, your girl's busy, right? And, I'm busy sitting here doing this shit, right? It's not like I'm doing anything. I'm so behind in my steps today. It's just been one of those days. Like, what did I do? I had a 90-minute massage. Which was lovely. So I'm trying to get my activity here. Why isn't it loading? I know I didn't get my steps in. So I did go to the gym. It's not loading. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. Oh, wow. So it says I got 5,000 steps so far. So that's not as bad as I thought. So I did do a little bit of walking around in the gym and stuff, but normally I try to shoot for, like 8,000 steps, but that's got to be planned. And I just have calls. Like I have calls all day, meetings with my coaches or, sales calls. And it's just like one of those things, had to put out a few fires. And so here I am. And now I'm sitting here doing a TikTok, right? A TikTok live. So, yeah, could I get out there and walk? Get my ass out there and walk? Yeah, I could, but I'm going to call it a day. So tomorrow's another day. But I don't need to keep going on and on. I can answer some more questions here for you guys if you have anything. So yeah, the big topic for my ladies, and just hit some likes, right? If there's anything that you want, if I'm talking about something that you want more information on. But, right now they're just right now they're trying to increase their protein. They are feeling full, right? And they're just like, oh my God, but they're also realizing that they're not snacking as much at night. And I think that's a big one for a lot of my ladies is I think women think they're getting enough protein in, but then when you start tracking it, then you realize like you're really not getting in as much as you think, right? So I get on a phone call like with a potential client, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I eat plenty of protein," and I'm like, "Okay, what do you have for breakfast?" Right? And they're like, 2 egg whites and some spinach," right? And I'm like, "Okay, what else?" And they're like, no, that's it, coffee, right? Or maybe they're not having breakfast at all, and then they're having a salad. It's always a freaking salad, right? With plenty of protein, right? And I'm like, well, how much? And then they'll be like, oh, a couple slices of like turkey meat or whatever. I'm like, okay. And then dinner, of course, is going to be, some protein and vegetables and no carbs, and that's usually like what I hear. And then they're like, but, the thing is, at night, I get really hungry at night. And I'm like, yeah, that's because you are hungry, right? So you're not eating enough calories during the day. So here's the thing. You start incorporating more protein, you start actually having a breakfast, you start actually having calories, and then you're full, right? You don't want to snack at night. So it's kind of like all of this just kind of comes together. So hopefully that makes sense. But again, it's about the planning. I do love boiled eggs, so I have those on hand. Cheese sticks are super easy. Beef jerky is amazing, just for snacks, right? Because there's not a lot of like snacky snacks that are protein, except for some of those things. Unfortunately, peanut butter is not is not a protein. All right, it is a fat that has some protein in it, but you definitely wouldn't use peanut butter as a protein source. And same with like quinoa. You're not going to use quinoa as a protein source. Yes, it has protein in it, but it is a carb, predominantly. And so just kind of looking at where can you get more protein into your diet? I do like the wraps, like the tortillas. So if you look at some of those tortillas will have like 8 grams of protein, 9 grams of protein. Now, if you put some tuna in there, and that's really going to bump up that protein, right? Now, though, if you add some bacon and some cheese, it's going to make that delicious, but it's also going to add more flavor first, but also protein. So I call bacon and cheese friends with benefits, right? Because most of it has like almost just as much protein as it does fat. So I like the center cut bacon. It has 5 grams of fat, 5 grams of protein. The cheese that I like Munster cheese. It has more fat, but it's like 7 grams of fat, 6 grams of protein. So I'm like, boom, baby. And now that makes that tuna taste amazing, So, and it's also going to bump up the calories as far as that goes. What about celery with tuna in it? So I eat 1 can of tuna. So 1 can of tuna has 29 grams of protein for only like 120 calories. So that's a lot of celery sticks, my friend. But hey, whatever floats your boat, like however you can get it in, then just roll with it. It doesn't have to be super complicated. You just kind of have to think about it a little bit different. And plan for it, so like the next time you go to the grocery store, just kind of look. Like you'd be surprised what foods do have protein in it. It's like some of the breads, again, like the English muffins and those tortilla wraps, those are going to have, some of those are going to have protein. So, it's not a coincidence that protein is popping up in everything now. There's Premier Protein has a cereal. Special K has a cereal. Those have 15 grams of protein in the Special K. The Premier Protein has 20 grams of protein in the cereal. So, it's not a coincidence that all these companies are coming up with the protein. Now, there's a protein water. I'm like, a protein water that has 0 calories, right? Come on, guys, that's bullshit. Protein has calories. Protein has 4 calories per gram. So if they're saying that something is 20 grams of protein and no calories, I call bullshit on that. So just be careful too about, you're always better off getting it from a whole food source. But I am not opposed to you supplementing with a protein powder, because if your protein goals are 150 grams and you can check off 25 grams with something like this, then I say go for it. Now, I wouldn't have 3 of these, right? Or 4 shakes to hit 100 grams of tuna, sorry, I'm reading tuna. I wouldn't have, 4 of these to hit 100 grams of protein, because now that defeats the purpose of bringing in the protein, because you're not having a complete amino acid profile. And one of the benefits of having protein, increasing your protein, is that you're actually going to burn more calories in the digestion process, because it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of energy, hence calories, to break down protein in the digestive process. And that doesn't work for something like that, because that's a fast digesting protein, so that's just going to go right through, right? So you're not going to have that benefit. But if you start increasing your protein, you're going to actually be burning more calories. That's not really the point, but it's a nice benefit. And so to the tune of like 80 to 100 calories just in the digestion process. And so my ladies, they're starting to notice, right, that they're feeling fuller, and they're like, is it possible that I'm feeling a little bit tighter? And I'm like, for some of them it definitely is, but they're going to notice those benefits more like around between week 3 and week 4, where they're really going to start to see a difference in their body, right? Because now that fat is coming down, the inflammation is coming down, and we're increasing the muscle mass. So, it's a slow process, but they start to feel like a little bit tighter. I do put protein in, I'll make like a frap sometimes in the summer for it, but the Quest protein like that, it's a scoop like that. So when you put it in coffee, it's going to make it really thick. So you could do like maybe a quarter of a scoop to make like a vanilla coffee or whatever, but I don't typically put it in my coffee. I know some people that they do, but a whole scoop in there is a lot. However, when I'm traveling, I don't want to junk up my water bottle with protein powder. So I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but if you leave protein powder in say you make a shake, and then you leave it, right? You're gonna be like, oh my god! Like after a couple of hours, like this is gross. But when I'm traveling, so that was kind of my point. So I'm not going to put my protein powder in my water bottle. So I will mix it up especially like at the hotel where they give you coffee or whatever. I'll just mix it up in there, and then I'll drink it that way. That's like the one time is like when I'm traveling, like just get it out of the way. No, I don't fast, because if you're fasting, right, and you need to get in 150 grams of protein, and you're skipping breakfast or you're skipping dinner, then that means you're going to be responsible for a lot of protein in two meals rather than 3 meals, instead of spreading it around. So spreading it throughout the day. So that's why I don't recommend fasting. Plus, you need your energy, right? So definitely don't suggest skipping breakfast. I make sure I have a good amount of carbs before I go into the gym, so I can kill it, so I have energy to work out. So that's, I do not fast. So, do I drink black coffee? Nope. I put cream in my coffee, heavy cream in my coffee, probably about 25 calories worth. So just a serving. So that's how I roll. And right now it's pumpkin spice everything. So I do like, I like that as far as flavor coffee goes, but normally it's black coffee. I don't know have you guys ever heard of Peet's coffee? So that's what I love. I love Peet's coffee. Major Dickinson's is like a dark roast, and that's my jam. So I have 1 cup in the morning, and then I'll have another one like anywhere between 11:30 and 1:30, and then I try and shut it down by then so that it doesn't affect my sleep. So that's how I roll. Pumpkin spice everything. In fact, so what I did was I love the salted caramel protein powder by Quest. I put in my yogurt, and then today I put in pumpkin pie spice, the seasoning, right? So that was good. So that's my new trick. I'll probably do a shake like I do a shake every now and then, but that's a damn good shake when you take that and then what is it? Coffee Mate has that pumpkin spice creamer. So I'll do yogurt, I'll do water, protein powder, salted caramel. Then I'll do the pumpkin spice seasoning, and then I'll do a little bit of that creamer, and then just make a shake with that, and that's really good with some nice whipped cream on top. So I'll use that as a treat. Usually I do that like on a Sunday, right? When I'm like, maybe had a couple extra drinks on Saturday night, I'll do that on a Sunday morning breakfast. But any other questions? It's getting late here. It's 9:30. I'm on the East Coast, so for some of you it might be early, but I am ready for a glass of wine, so I'm going to get to it. And if you ever have questions, right, you can just send me a message. The easiest way to get in touch with me, right, is hard. For some reason, it's hard on TikTok to communicate back and forth. I am on Instagram as @Kathy Catalyst, also Facebook, but you can go to my bio and find all my socials there. As far as thoughts on a carnivore diet, like I would ask, why are you doing that? I know there's a benefit, like a health benefit for certain people that maybe they can't have certain foods, and so they're going to concentrate on a carnivore diet. I don't personally like to eliminate anything or take out whole food groups from my diet. So I eat everything, right? I follow, I track macros. I follow a flexible dieting lifestyle. I eat what I want, right? I'm a grown-ass woman. You're not going to tell me that I can't have anything. So I eat what I want. I eat what I enjoy. Yes, I have plenty of vegetables. You need that. I drink plenty of water. But I also have popcorn. I will have wine. I'll have chocolate. If we're going out, then maybe I'm having pizza or a burger on a bun, so I don't eliminate anything as far as that goes. So I just have a pretty well-rounded, balanced diet, making sure that I am, ticking the boxes, right? Getting plenty of protein in, making sure I get plenty of fiber in. That's why, I eat a ton of vegetables. And then that allows for that. So I'm definitely 80-20 rule, right? 80% of my diet is whole foods and then 20% is that fun stuff. So, but I know that there's definitely some benefits for certain conditions where you would benefit from a carnivore diet. But I don't believe in eliminating anything for no reason, especially for weight loss. So, because I've done it. I haven't done the carnivore diet. I stopped doing all that shit, basically when I was 48, when I got my own transformation. So, that's what prompted me to become a nutrition coach. And then I realized that women in menopause are severely underserved. And and I was going through that. So I'm like, you know what? That's who I'm going to be helping, is women that are going through menopause. So, I did all kinds of shit, all kinds of diets, bought all kinds of products, spent a ton of money, keto, the cabbage diet, the lettuce diet, you name it, I did it, right? Fasting, intermittent fasting. I did bulletproof coffee for breakfast, 3-day fasts, all this stuff to lose weight, and it just didn't work. And in fact, going through that grind, my body was definitely not better off. Going through, I think, a year and a half of keto, and then I saw a picture of myself. Yeah, I was skinny, I was and that's all that I was focused on, was losing weight. And then I saw a picture of myself, and I'm like, Jesus, I just looked like shit. I looked like a melted candle, and I had zero muscle tone. My skin had this weird gray pallor. I looked like the one from Lord of the Rings, right? And my head was hanging because I had no muscle tone. My shoulders were slumped in, and then my head was just hanging down. I'm like, what is that, right? That wasn't the look I was going for, So I think, we get caught up in all this crazy stuff. But I was skinny. But I weighed such and such, right? So that's and that's the dieting culture, and you kind of get wrapped up in that. And so, it took me a while to get out of that diet mentality and always focusing on the scale. And so now, I'm in the best shape of my life, right? And I'm not doing all of that stuff. I am not dieting all the time, right? I spend about 3 months in a caloric deficit, and the rest of the time I'm either maintaining or trying to build. I don't eliminate any foods. I eat what I want. I do track calories. I'm not eating just like whatever, right? I'm not going off the rails, but I am totally satisfied with the foods that I'm having. I don't need to track. I track because my clients are seeing what I'm eating, right? I want to show them, how do you get in 50 to 60 grams of protein per meal, right? So we're friends on MyFitnessPal. So, I track for them. And I don't do cardio. I try to get my steps in every day. I'm shooting for anywhere from 7 to like 9,000 steps a day, but that's my only cardio. And I lift 4 to 5 days a week. Right now, I'm on 4 days a week, but hopefully, this winter, when I actually go into an aggressive build, which just conveniently coincides with the holidays, right? So I'm going to get about 250 more calories going into a build, and then I'm hopefully going to be going to 5 days a week for weight training. So everything happens in a season, right? It's not always, I think women get stuck in this always being in a diet kind of thing, and then it's just not doing you any favors, and then you're like, then you go off the rails, and then you come back to the diet, and it's just a lot, there's a stress on the body, especially if you are in your late 40s, early 50s. This used to work for us when we were in our 30s, right? We used to just be able to do a little bit more cardio, eat a little bit less, and then it worked. But then it just stops working. And why is that? And that's because how many times have you done that, right? How many times have you gone through that? And now your hormones are changing, your body is changing, your metabolism is changing. Your metabolism is going to drive what happens with the hormones, and then that is going to dictate what happens with your body. So that's where we start to get into problems. So that's my 2 cents on that. But again, if you want to get in touch with me, probably the best way would be to message me on either Messenger or on Instagram. Again, you can hit the link in my bio. There's some fun stuff in there, right? There's a calorie calculator, macro calculator that you can calculate, like what are your maintenance calories. You can find the link to my podcast on there, my YouTube channel. Like there's all kinds of stuff. But I do have a free 5-day challenge that's on there as well. And so that's totally free. My Facebook group is totally free. Tons of information in there, tons of recipes, help with menopause, tons of great community in there. So, there are resources out there. And those are the best ways to get a hold of me. You can send me a message on TikTok. I just don't, for whatever reason, I don't see them. So if I don't see it after a couple days, just hit me up again. But anyways, it was very nice talking to you tonight. And I hope that you have a rockin' Friday, and I'll see you soon. Bye.